Shalom, more praise to Yahweh Shem Shah, double line to the positive GMS. This is I'm Noah Allah coming at you on the video. Now this video is not gonna really be a deep video. It's gonna really be, simple. Just cause that it's like it's not really simple, but it's a scripture that brothers may read but may not necessarily know. So I just wanna touch on it a little bit. This is the book of 2 Peter 3 and 5. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. That's the part I want to get to. And the earth standing out of the water and in the water. So in order for us to understand that, let's go to the book of Genesis, the first chapter. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now in the beginning in Hebrew is Bara'ashiath, meaning in the headings. Which the head is what? The beginning, like the beginning of your body. Even when you were in school and you would write your heading, it'll be a name, the date, the class, teacher's name. That's your heading. That's at the top. That's at the beginning, the starting point. So in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, or Bara'ashiath, which is in the headings. And that word there, and as you can see, Bara'ashiath, Bara'ashiath. And that word there for God is Alahayim, which means rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods, or in other words, powers. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, or in the beginning, the powers created the heavens and the earth, or in the headings, the powers created the heavens and the earth. And the powers is talking about the angels. Yahweh Shai, the angels were the ones that created everything. Okay, real quick. Ephesians chapter 3 verse 9. And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world had been hid in the Most High, who created all things by Yahweh Shai. So the Most High created all things by Yahweh Shai, meaning Yahweh Shai was the one who was the head of the creation, but he created all things. But the Most High created all things by him, meaning it was the Most High's order. But Yahweh Shai was the one that actually put it forth. Yahweh Shai and the angels. That's how when you go back to Genesis, the first chapter. Here we are. That word there for God is plural. Alahayim. So if we know it's Yahweh Shai, who said the Most High created all things by, who would the plural have to be? The other angels. So it says, and the earth was without form and void. So the earth was without form and void. In other words, the earth was in this element stage. Because what are the kind of things that make up the earth? In the ground, you got what? You got sulfur, you got iron, you got all these different types of minerals. So the earth was without form and void. In other words, the earth was existed, but it was in its element form, and those elements was not yet combined to make the earth as we know it. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. It was darkness. And the spirit of God, or the angels, moved upon the face of the waters. At that word waters is Mayim. Now when you go back to Genesis, the first chapter, and you look up that word heaven, it's Shemayim, which means heavens. So waters is Mayim in the Hebrew, and heavens is Shemayim in the Hebrew. Okay? Let me go further down. Okay, let me go to the point. Here you go. And the power said, let there be, and that's why when you read the scriptures, and it says, let us make man in our image. Just to add that. Genesis 1:26, let us make man in our image. Because it's talking about Yahweh Shai and angels giving man order. Let's go back to the point though. And the power said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So the spirit of the powers moved upon the face of the waters, because waters was there too. But waters is made up of what? Hydrogen and oxygen. So waters existed, but it was in its element form. So when it says, and the power said, let there be a firmament, it was not yet combined to make water or liquid as we know it. And the power said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. In other words, it was a firmament. In other words, the atmosphere. and let it divide the waters from the waters. So when it said the spirit of the powers moved upon the face of the waters, it's talking about what? The angels was out in deep space. And then let it a firmament be created to divide the waters from the waters. The waters, or the space that was within the firmament, from the waters that was on the outside of the firmament. So what you have is the earth's atmosphere, but the earth is still without form and void. So there was no earth inside the atmosphere. It was just space. In other words, waters. And on the outside of the firmament, it was just waters. So think of space and just think of an atmosphere. Think of a circular shape, if you will, with emptiness inside of it and emptiness outside of it. So it divided the waters from the waters. It divided deep space on the outside of the firmament from the deep space that was inside of the firmament where the earth was going to be formed, and outside of the firmament where the stars and the sun and the moon and was going to be formed as well. And the powers made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. That's talking about what? What I just explained. The waters above the firmament, on the outside of it, and inside of it. Here's an example. Imagine something like this to divide the waters from the waters. Now, I believe this is supposed to be some kind of like eclipse or something, but just imagine what you see, this little white circle there. Imagine that being a firmament. It's dividing the waters from the waters. So it's dividing the waters on the outside of that circle from the waters that are inside of the circle. Meaning it's dividing deep space, which is on the outside of the circle, from the space that's inside of the circle where the earth is going to be formed. Or something like this. Or something like this. Just to give you an idea. And inside of that circle was the earth, which was without form and void, was going to eventually be formed to make the earth as we know it. All right, let's keep going. And the powers made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And the powers called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So the firmament was called heaven. So there you go. That's the first heaven. Then you got the second heaven, which is outer space, and then that's why I said that's why I was going to speak about the first heaven and third heaven. We know the first heaven is the atmosphere, the earth's atmosphere. So what's the second heaven talking about? Outer space. The outside of the firmament. And what's the third heaven? The spirit world. So let's go back to Peter. So when you go back to 1 Peter 2 and 5, for this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. See? Okay. Now, let me see. Now, when you go up, read up a couple of verses, 2 Peter 3 and 3, he says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, in other words, our fathers in the past, our ancestors, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. So you have people saying that. Last days, it was scoffers that was going to come. And I wasn't going to take into account that there was going to be a destruction. So they was going to continue to walk after their own lust. And they were going to say, where's the promise of his coming? Since our fathers fell asleep, since our ancestors died and passed, things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation, just like they're doing now, because we are in the last days. They're disregarding that there is a pending destruction, because in their mind, people have long died, and then people were born, lived, and died, and born. They were lived and died, so on and so forth. In other words, nothing's going to happen. They've been saying that forever. Things going to continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. But they're ignorant. For this they are willingly ignorant, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old. In other words, things were created and it was good. It was a command. It was created and it was good. The heavens were of old. In other words, its creation came forth by the word of the Most High, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, as we just went into, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store. So just as the word of the Most High was of old, and the earth standing out of the water in the water. Look at that, out of the water in the water. What does that mean, out of the water? Standing out.
Strong's G 4921. Sunistemi.
Sunistemi. To place together, to set in the same place, to bring or band together. To put together by way of composition or combination, to teach by combining and comparing. So it says to put together, unite parts together. So the earth standing out of the water and in the water. In other words, it had the earth, and then you had the firmament that was united or put together with the earth. It was put right around where the earth was going to be placed. Then you went to in the first chapter. So the earth standing out of the water and in the water. So the firmament consisted of the waters being combined, and the earth was inside of that firmament, separating, dividing the heavens above the water from, dividing the heavens from above the firmament and beneath the firmament where the earth was going to be placed. So the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store. So the same word that created the heavens and the earth and the firmament, by that same word, the heavens and the earth which are now are kept in store. It's reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So they're willingly ignorant of that. They're willingly ignorant that the same word that created everything is the same word that's keeping everything in store in their time, all the way until this time, preserving it unto destruction. So the same one that created everything is putting forth the word that these things will be destroyed, but not the whole earth, but the world as you know it. In other words, this world, specifically America, Babylon the Great, which is going to be destroyed by fire in the coming Third World War. I could go into a little bit more, but I'm gonna close it there. There you go, and that's those same ungodly men that's gonna undergo the destruction, that judgment. So with that, I'm gonna close and say, oh praise, how about Shemel Shah, double line, see a positive GMS. I hope you ever learned something. Shalom.